As fantastic a CFP as Mel O is, and as wonderful an attorney as I am, please do note that anything said in our show are our opinions alone and are not meant to be taken as financial or legal advice.
Welcome to Finances, the Other F Word, a Gen Xer podcast for musicians and music lovers, where we discuss money and music without all the pretentious bullshit. Here are your hosts, Zoe Terry, attorney at large, and Mel O, certified financial planner and author of Finances, the Other F Word. Listener discretion is advised.
Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about impeachment in the market, the stock market. So for those of you who are living under a rock or maybe in another country, we are currently in an investigation, impeachment investigation opened up by the House Judicial Committee into Donald Trump's, is quid pro quo, is that a legal
No.
term?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
so
a
explain.
Latin term.
Yeah, so just explain on a
Isn't
legal.
it the same as like bribery, basically? No.
No.
I mean, I thought.
Don't put me on the spot like that. Quid pro quo.
No, I know
means-
it's like you do something for me, I do
Yeah,
something for you, but I
exactly
thought maybe
that.
there was a more of a legal term. No, okay. Anyway, and so in dealings with Ukraine, that he withheld aid money to Ukraine on the basis that Ukraine did investigation on his political rival, and this has been going on. I think it was originally opened up in September.
A favor or advantage granted or expected in return for something.
Yeah.
There you
So quid pro quo, and an impeachment investigation has been opened up, and there's been a lot of conversations with people about as far as how is that going to potentially affect the stock market in the event that he becomes impeached. And the deal is that we've had a president in 1880, I think the last name was Jones, I can't remember. That was impeached, but we don't have any really good stock market records. Then we have Nixon, who was impeached by the House successfully and looked like he was about to be impeached by the Senate due to Watergate and also the fact that he bombed Cambodia without any type of approval, but he ended up leaving office. Then we had Clinton get impeached, and I believe it was 1990. Was that 94?
90-something.
94 to 96, because he won a term. He was impeached in his second term or his first term?
I don't recall.
Probably a second term, or I'm assuming.
I believe it was the second term.
Yeah, and but the stock market was doing well. So how it works in the United States is that they open up an impeachment inquiry in the House, and then the Senate has to do an investigation. Then they have to approve it, and then it goes forward and gets impeached. So there's been a lot of questions that I've had from clients where I've been fielding them. What is the stock market going to do? And we have a whole hodgepodge of crap going on right now. First of all, it's the end of the year. And what happens in the end of the year is that people don't want to do anything because they think that next year's going to be different and they're going to handle their money better, and they're going to put everything on hold through the holidays. We have Thanksgiving coming up, Christmas coming up, and we have New Year's coming up. And they don't want to do anything till after the year, first of the year normally. But on top of that, what they have is we have an election year happening. So if you're pro-Trump, you want him to get back in office, and you don't want to do anything until he actually gets reelected. And if you're anti-Trump, you don't want to do anything until he's not in office anymore, which makes election years, rocky to boot with the impeachment process. But the deal is with the impeachment process is that we had a podcast episode we did a couple episodes back called Fiscal versus Monetary Policy. And the concern is not the impeachment. So there's all different types of risks out there that we've talked about. And one of them I've touched on multiple times is headline risk. And headline risk is just exactly that. What you see in the newspaper, when you hear Trump and impeachment and, this person's now testifying or this person won't testify, and how it riles people up. That's considered headline risk. And a lot of times, even though you shouldn't, people make investment decisions with behavioral finance based on the fact that they are being triggered by these different headlines. That's why it's called headline risk. And so the concern is not necessarily the impeachment itself. The concern is its potential impact on fiscal policy. So you have monetary policy that's set by the federal government, and then you have fiscal policy, taxes, and tariffs that are set by the administration. And so we just had a little bit of pop in stocks. We've hit all-time highs here in the last couple days. And there has been a conversation that we are now going to, in a tentative potential agreement with China that will drop tariffs starting together slowly. So they drop tariffs on us, we drop them on them, the same amount of tariffs at the same price, and we start moving from there. So the market has taken this as very optimistic. But the concern is in the event that there is an impeachment that goes through and the House does actually do the vote to impeach, that it will affect the fact that the tariffs have been ongoing now for 2.5 years with seemingly no end in sight, with new tariffs supposed to be taking effect in January. And so they've put a hiatus on those January tariffs so far, but the amount of money that the tariffs have affected, so there is $460 on average each year that the American family is spending more on the tariffs that are already in effect, and it's proposed to double if the tariffs that he had just now put a hiatus on are starting. And of course, we are going into the holiday season, and most of the items that are tariffs specifically. Thank you for.
Hey, thanks, Zoe.
Thank you for the tension
Anytime.
released, Zoe. And with the tariffs, primarily most of them being on tennis shoes and shoes of that type being such high. I think the tariff now on shoes coming in from China is over 33%. Going into the holiday season, that's all the stuff that's going to affect our budget. And so the concern is that having an impeachment inquiry going on is that in the event that if we can ever decide that we are going to be able to come to an agreement with China, then we need to be, and I'm doing air quotes, in a strong position to negotiate. And there's the suspect that maybe China would wait to see if they can get a easier dealing with president in 2021. And on part of that, I'm like, yeah, I don't want the president to be easy to be dealt with. But on the second part, we created this. This was a manufactured crisis. This was not something that we had before this happened. And the current tariffs, and as it is going now, according to the Washington Post, are costing the economy 40,000 jobs per month. And so we've started to see, and we've talked on this podcast about leading and lagging indicators and about what the job market does, and how that when the unemployment numbers come out, sometimes they're close to being correct, and then sometimes they're really not. And so the concern again comes back with the fiscal policy, and the concern comes back to the algorithm trading, which we've also talked about numerous times on our Black Monday episode and our Flash Crash episode, where we talked about the fact that, there's these algorithms that just surf and they cause sometimes inconsistencies in pricing that they can then turn around and take advantage of at the price of most other consumer people. And there are algorithms out there that are now searching for the words Trump and searching for impeachment.
Yep.
Because the headline risk will make people do stupid things, regardless of what. If you're pro-Trump or anti-Trump, it doesn't matter. It just makes you behave, which is why it's called behavior financing.
Can I ask you a couple of questions? Kind of just dive in here really quick before we get
I'll try to
too
answer
far
them.
off the subject. But so this is one of the few topics I know something about.
Great.
Believe it or not. So
Since nothing else we're going to talk about, he knows. So go
I
ahead,
don't.
Stormy.
But this one's kind of interesting because my understanding is, that this new round of easing on tariffs. So far, China has made the announcement, but the U.S. hasn't made the announcement, which is kind of interesting. And what China's looking for is the relaxation of the what they call the Walmart tariffs, which are the ones that are the tennis shoes and the things that are affecting people. Those are the ones that I think that went into effect in September. And they're like, hey, because those are the ones that are really affecting, your middle America, the
Right.
Walmart tariffs.
Right.
And but there's been no word from the administration if they're going to start. Or let me back up. There's been no word from the administration publicly that they're going to ease those. So that was just one of those things that's kind of interesting.
They're in phase one.
They're in phase one, exactly. And China's like, hey, dudes, let's get these Walmart tariffs taken care of. And I'm sure Nike, Nike and Adidas and all of them would like to get that taken care of too, as well as the other stuff. Everything that we buy is made in China. So it's kind of interesting. But I do agree. I'm right there with you. It's we manufactured this crisis.
And what I'm afraid of is that now the one of the original sticking points of the tariff was the fact that that China was messing with our intellectual property, and now there's this big artificial intelligence race that somehow worked into the whole tariff fiasco, which I'm quite frankly afraid that by the time we come to an end of the tariffs, we're going to have all of this put on the economy for no reason at all. And if we don't get a resolution on any of the reasons why we started the tariffs in the first place, then I don't really know how that's going to have benefited us at all. But yeah, the United States says that they're in phase 1, and they were supposed to be expecting to sign it sometime in the middle of November, which now they've said that's not going to happen, and that they're trying to get some pseudo thing in place. And I think they're trying to beat the Christmas shopping season, because here in the United States, obviously our Christmas shopping season typically kicks off on Black Friday, which is the day after Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving comes very late this year here. So the Thanksgiving here is November 28th, right?
That works for me.
Yeah, I think it's November. It's really
Sunday,
late. It's really late in the year.
Sunday.
Yeah, it's a
on
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah, it's always Thursday.
It's
Yeah,
always Thursday. Yeah.
So the 29th being the fact that it would be.
Oh yeah, November 28th.
Yeah.
28th. I knew it was the 28th.
I don't know why Zoe just looked at Sarah like she needed to be reassured or something. Like they have this weird little communication
We
going.
were nodding with each other that we have no idea what we're talking about.
I don't know why you Brits do not celebrate us
Thanksgiving?
coming to America. Yeah,
Right.
that's really rude of you.
I know.
So anyway,
Perhaps you could start that, Sarah. Yep.
Yeah.
When you get back. All right.
and so yeah, that would be great. Just so you should start the whole movement. And then, of course, there is the theory that maybe that this whole impeachment thing is actually worked into the economy already. It's what we, excuse me, not the economy, the stock market. So that's what we call pricing in. So when we say something is priced in, that means that we think that something's going to happen. Either the Fed is going to lower interest rates or raise interest rates, or a new tax is going to come down or not come down, or there's going to be some type of fiscal or monetary change. And so the market looks ahead, and then we either sell off or they will start buying. And then that is what, when you say something is priced into the market, that's what they're talking about. So unfortunately, there's no clear indication of what the market would do historically in the event of an impeachment inquiry. And it seems to be that whatever trends are already in place are going to continue to move forward. But that being said, we still have Germany heading into recession. We still have global slowing. And then we still have the tariffs we have to deal with. And then on top of it, we have the impeachment inquiry. So look for the broader economic trends. And Stormy has something else he wants to say.
Anytime I want to say something, and this is historically, I go, ooh.
Okay.
So, so I understand that there's a strategy that the administration may be considering, that as the impeachment process continues, it looks like that the current funding for the government is set to expire sometime in November, that he has to sign. It's on his desk, but if he doesn't sign it, that creates a government shutdown. So if you have a government shutdown, you'll have the House of Representatives still showing up, but all their aides, the people who are really doing the work, hey, I'm not getting paid, I can't come in. So it's a way to effectively put the impeachment on hold. That will be kind of interesting.
Well, and there has been
How do you
talk that
think?
he is going to force a government shutdown to try to get around it. He took responsibility and did the first government shutdown that did not look very well on him.
Right.
And I don't know if he would do that again. I mean, I wouldn't put anything past them, but unfortunately I think that would, for me, that would just look, I don't know how you could not see that would be an obvious ploy to keep his job and put the due process on hold. But so anyway, so the long story short is that continue to look for the trends, and in the event that any impeachment that is uncovered might affect our trade position with the tariffs in regards to China, and global markets are continuing to slow in the midst of all of this stuff going into our holiday shopping season, with Thanksgiving being as late as it is this year, means that everything is going to be compressed. And the reason why it's called Black Friday is because it's the day that usually takes and puts the manufacturers, not the manufacturers, like the department stores and the consumer discretionary sector in the black versus from being in the red. And it's also just a day for people to run around and just beat the shit out of each other to buy TVs a day after being thankful for everything they have.
Right.
You know, and Michelle loves Black Friday, and I think it's a whole bunch of crap. So, should we tell Stormy what we're talking about?
Hey, wait, before we get there, I was just going to talk about Black Friday, because I got some really devastating news yesterday.
Oh, Lord.
So, Sandra and I, when we met, that's my wife of 28 years, we met at Sears, right? We both worked at Sears, and I just saw yesterday that the Sears store we met at is part of the next round of closings.
Oh.
So I'm sad.
So, you guys going to travel back there and,
No.
have a donut and...
Yeah, maybe. It was a Cinnabon.
Oh,
We'll go
okay.
back there and get a Cinnabon.
Cinnabons,
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? That's like a part of my life. That's just like they're shutting down.
Yeah, but when's
The
the last time
Sears.
you've been in that store?
it's been a while since I've been in any Sears.
Yeah.
So I get it. But
It used to be the tool place. I mean, that's where you
Absolutely.
used to go. And Sears was a big place growing up in the 80s. I mean,
it was huge. I mean, it was huge back then because a lot of people don't know this, but just talk about bad management because here's some things that Sears used to own when we were there. So, we met in 1987, right? And back then, Sears owned Dean Witter, the investment bank. They owned Discover Card, the credit card. They owned Allstate, the insurance company. And a host of other stuff, and it's just amazing. Like, wow, talk
Didn't
about
they
a fall
own
from
Kmart?
grace. They bought Kmart later on.
Oh, okay.
But they bought Kmart, but they owned at the time. Kenmore was like the most trusted brand in appliances.
Absolutely.
They squandered that brand. They owned Craftsman Tools, which they sold off to Stanley, and that was like the number one brand of tools. They just had so much going for them, and like, wow, they really squandered it. But yeah, just wanted to share the place I met my wife. Just got news that they're shutting down.
And
Like,
from a
whoa.
marketing standpoint, I mean, how long it took to build the Kenmore and the Craftsman brand, because that's the only place my dad would go, or my grandfather would go get appliances and tools.
And here's the interesting thing, which a lot of people don't realize. In reality, Sears was the first Amazon.
Oh, yeah, they had the
Amazon.com,
catalog.
they had the Sears catalog. So,
which I love.
Sears was the first Amazon. So the fact that they built themselves the exact same model as Amazon because they had everything in the Sears catalog, the fact that when the internet came along and they're like, hey, should we get in on this bandwagon? Nah, we got the catalog.
Yeah, well, that's just like Kodak owning they were the ones who did
absolutely.
the digital photographs. So there's a lot of, we could probably do another whole podcast, and Stormy could, walk us through that as far as just some of the brands that have been squandered and the amount of money that's went into those, because it takes such a long time to establish a brand. Finances are there for it.
So what are we talking about today?
So we are talking about, Zoe and I are talking about bands who have kicked out key members of their bands.
Oh, my
because
favorite
we're doing
topic.
the thing on impeachment. You're not copying anything of our stuff, Stormy. All right, okay, go Zoe. He's googling crazily.
Okay.
So do half of yours, then I'll do half of mine. Maybe we'll let Stormy do one as he's over here googling on the fly.
Okay.
Oh, I've got some good ones.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. Okay, I'll start with bands who have fired their lead singers. So the Temptations fired David Ruffin, who had sung on a lot of their really famous stuff, such as My Girl. Apparently, he had a problem with the coke,
the
coke
cocaine.
and the cocaine and the ego. So
Madonna. Go ahead.
Madonna. In Excess, after the lovely Michael Hutchence passed, they famously did some reality show to find J.D. Fortune, who was living out of his car at the time. And
I watched it, unfortunately.
oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, and so he became the lead singer in 2005. He was first fired in 2009 because of the drugs, and then they had him back, and then he was permanently fired in 2011, and he found out via the website. kind of cold. The Libertines fired Pete Doherty, if that's how you say it, in 2004, again because of addictions. That seems to be
Running theme.
the running theme. Moving across the pond, Take That, I don't know if either of you have heard. Oh, you have?
I Want
heard.
You Back for Good is their song. That's the only song I know by Take That.
All right. Well, they let Robbie Williams, Gobby Robbie, as we called him, go in 1995. But he went on to have a most successful career without them, so I don't think he really was that bothered. And then I think he rejoined them briefly for a comeback tour. And one more, the Cranberries let Niall Quinn go and replaced him or her with Dolores O'Riordan. So
I'm assuming the Nile guy is British.
Irish, I would have thought.
Oh, okay. I've never met an American named Niall or Niles ever. Plural or singular. I've never met that at all.
Niles from Kramer.
Nile, yeah. Yeah, but he had like a British
Oh,
accent.
yeah, I guess you got a point there, right?
Yeah, and they're supposed to be brothers, which I never understood how he had an accent, the other one didn't. All right, so we're going to talk about some of the rock bands that have let some of their lead singers go, and then we'll go back to Zoe, then we'll go back to me, then we'll go to Stormy.
Wait, I got some good stuff.
No, Stormy,
you
I
don't.
swear to
Not
God.
yet.
No, I've got something that you don't
Not yet.
have.
No.
Yeah, because
I
we
spent
haven't
a long time
finished yet.
researching
You
this.
can wait. You can wait.
Oh, man.
No,
You see what happens?
you do this all the time. Okay, so we'll start off with the obviously one of the biggest names in metal, Black Sabbath, who used to have Ozzy Osbourne. Of course, we talk about a lot of the British rock bands on this show, and Ozzy Osbourne was into heavy, super duper drugs, lots of cocaine, and they booted him from it, and they ended up picking up Dio, Ronnie James Dio, and then they went on as Black Sabbath, the second one, and then Ronnie James Dio until he died, traveled with his version of Black Sabbath called Heaven and Hell. And then we had also another one of Michelle's favorite Stone Temple Pilots, Scott Weiland. He was heavy on drugs, and he got booted from Stone Temple Pilots, and then they actually ended up picking up another guy, and then I think actually Chester Bennington got picked up by Stone Temple Pilots, and then he actually ended up killing himself while he was on Ativan. This was, I think, in last year, 2018. Then we have, of course, while he's not a lead singer, Guns N' Roses, Steve Adler. So if he was in their videos off of the first Appetite for Destruction, but I clearly remember him in Welcome to the Jungle, and he's blonde hair flying, and he's playing the drums. He ended up doing so many drugs. I can't remember if it was heroin or cocaine, but he ended up having a stroke at 32.
Wow.
Fucked up stroke, like not like that was a mini stroke. No, like bleh, like his speech got messed up, and he got, like I said, got booted from the band. Ended up coming back to the band. Or excuse me, he has his own band now called Adler's Appetite, where basically they just do, covers. And then the last one I'll cover right now is Van Halen. And of course, David Lee Roth was the original singer of Van Halen, and their biggest album was 1984. And then after 1984, they promptly fired David Lee Roth, and then he went on to do Eat 'Em and Smile. And Van Halen, with the new lead singer Sammy Hagar, that everybody calls Van Hagar, their follow-up, David Lee Roth came out with Eat 'Em and Smile, which was a great CD. The whole thing is great. And then Van Hagar came out with OU 812 as a response to Eat 'Em and Smile from David Lee Roth, which was also a great CD. They ended up booting Sammy Hagar. The Van Halen brothers ended up booting Sammy Hagar, and Sammy Hagar was like, look, it was like a great movie with the horrible ending. And Michael Anthony had played with Van Halen all the way from the beginning with David Lee Roth, but because he had continued communications with the Van Halen brothers, with Sammy Hagar, when Sammy Hagar was booted from the group, they booted him from the group. And then Wolfgang Van Halen, who is Eddie Van Halen's son, is now playing bass in the band. And then Michael Anthony, still kicking it with Sammy Hagar, is now doing Chickenfoot and some other things. So that's a couple of the ones I have. Stormy's looking at me. I'm gonna knock him out. It's gonna happen.
You know it. So I'm going to just jump in.
I've got some good stuff.
I'm
I
sure
know
you
we're
do.
cock blocking you. We're totally cock blocking you.
We'll let you speak at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to hear all the different ones you have.
I need all my fans to step in. Both of you.
Yes.
Both of my stand all over the world. I need both of you to dive in and have my back.
I'm not sure they're up yet.
No.
These older ladies like to get their sleep.
I guess you got a point there.
Actually, they've probably been up since 4. They're getting ready to eat lunch right about now.
Good point. The Beatles, obviously.
You
Pete,
got mine.
really? Did I?
Yeah.
Pete Best was the drummer before he was fired and replaced by Ringo Starr. And then Brian Jones was the guitarist in the Rolling Stones before he was fired in 1969, and then unfortunately he died a month later. The Smiths, I know you were going to talk about that, but I'm going to...
You really took
you
Stormy's.
I wanted that one.
Well, the bass player Andy Rourke was fired apparently by Morrissey leaving a note on his car telling him he was no longer in the band.
It's one of those notes. It's like, do you want to still be in the band? With a box for yes and a box for no, and then he just pre-checks no.
It was, you're no longer in the band.
Yeah.
Good luck. But anyway, he was let back in the band, and then they split up soon after anyway. I know you have a Pink Floyd one, but my Pink Floyd one is Richard Wright was fired because apparently he didn't get on well with Roger Waters. But he later returned after Roger Waters was let go in the mid-90s.
But I do have a little thing on that one there. Mm-hmm. When he was hired back, he was hired as a salaried keyboardist.
Yeah, he was. Well, he was a session.
Yeah, he wasn't officially. That's kind of a fuck you that they do. They bring back old people, but they don't call them an official member, and they leave them out of photo ops and stuff.
Yeah.
Bon Jovi does that. Go ahead.
Do you want me to do the rest of mine?
Yeah, you might as well. And I'll do the rest of mine. Then we'll just get right to Stormy's.
Yeah, because he's got plenty. I'm
so
sure.
many. I know, Stormy. So yeah, just do all yours, Zoe.
Crystal Jones was fired from TLC and replaced by Rosonda Thomas.
What?
Yeah.
I did not
even
know that there was anybody else in TLC besides
TLC.
Left Eye and Chili and.
Well, there you go. Early days, probably. Then Henry Padovani, never even heard of him, was in the Police apparently as a guitarist before he was fired and replaced by Andy Summers. And let's see, just got a couple more. LaToya Luckett and LaTravia Robertson were both in Destiny's Child.
Oh.
And this is kind of funny. They were let go, but how they discovered they were no longer in the band was when they saw the 2001 video of Say My Name on TV and they weren't in it.
Say my name, say
and
my name.
There was
not my name though, or your name, because you're not in it. It was Farrah Franklin and Michelle Williams replaced them.
And wasn't there 4 girls in that video? Yeah, I was gonna say. So there was 4 girls. So they just took the old 2 members, replaced them with new 2 members, and then they saw the video.
They saw the video and like,
Nice.
guess I'm not in it anymore.
That's fucked up.
So, but well, apparently though, I think one of them had been looking for a new manager, whereas the manager is Beyonce's dad, right?
I think so, yeah.
So that wasn't a very smart move.
No, probably not.
Yeah. And then the Sex Pistols, Glenn Matlock was replaced by Sid Vicious, and apparently the bassist, Glenn Matlock, was replaced by Sid Vicious. And apparently, and I've read this on a few different places, the reason for him being replaced was because he kept going on about Paul McCartney too much. And that wasn't cool.
That's Sir.
Yeah,
Paul,
Sir
McCartney
Sir
too,
Paul,
which is obviously a big deal with you guys for some reason.
Yeah, but apparently it was not cool to be in a punk band and keep going on and on about the Beatles.
He's
and
a great
Paul
musician.
McCartney. Yeah,
Paul McCartney's a great musician.
Yeah, so they got rid of him and replaced him with Sid, who clearly couldn't play an instrument to save his life, but wasn't going to.
Do you think we could pull a Sex Pistols and kick Zoe out for talking about cats so much?
Yeah.
Because I'm real close.
Yeah.
Well, do it at your peril. And then finally, I do like this story quite a lot. It's an English band. Do you know Slade? No? Anyway.
I once rode a Slade down a mountain.
That's a sled, you fuckwit. But well done. Dave Glover.
He's like a 5-year-old. He's like, I rode a sled down a mountain. Look at me. Look at me. You're not watching. You're not watching.
This is my last one, and you'll get to say some, which I'm sure you
No, I'm going to get to say something.
Are you kidding me? See
Listen to the story, though. This
Mine's
is a good
all rock,
story.
Stormy. Mine's all rock. Go ahead.
So Slade is an English band. I think they're from Birmingham, aren't they? Which is the region where we're originally from. Dave Glover played bass in the band, and in 2003... he apparently got engaged to a serial killer called Rosemary West, who is it was a married couple, Rosemary and Fred West, who are prolific serial killers in England. And apparently he got engaged to the wife while Rosemary, well, obviously they must have got divorced, the wife of the serial killer couple while she was in prison. And as soon as they found out about it, they booted him out. And apparently he denied that was ever the case. But either way, he got kicked out of Slade.
Interesting.
Can you imagine how polite a British serial killer must be? Hello.
Hello, do you mind if I kill you?
Yeah. I'm sorry if it's not too much trouble. I can't do an English accent. Okay, I'm going to go with my metal stuff, and then we're going to turn it over to Stormy.
Promise to take care of your cat.
Right? Okay, so I just have a couple. Obviously, Steve Perry of Journey. You know, he got the boot. He had an operation on something with his back, and then refused to take painkillers and refused to get back out on tour. And they fucked around, and they tried to get Steve Perry back. And of course, you know, Girl Can't Help It, and, Don't Stop Believing, all that stuff. That's all Steve Perry. And he ended up going out, and they found somebody who sounds just like him, a Filipino gentleman. I've seen them with a Filipino gentleman. He sounds just like Steve Perry. They're an amazing band together. They sounded super great. Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead, who passed away sadly on December, I think, 28th of 2015, used to be in a band called Hawkwind, and they apparently did not like his aggressive bass playing style, and they booted him. Pink Floyd, Syd Barrett. So Syd Barrett was the original singer for Pink Floyd, and for those of you out there who may have never actually heard Pink Floyd's really early stuff, it is seriously acid rock. I mean, you have to be high on something in order to understand what the hell is going on. And he ended up getting so far into LSD that they actually booted him. And he shows up when they were actually recording Wish You Were Here, which is for Pink Floyd fans. It's not going to be any new information, but they hadn't seen him in so long. He was so big and he was so shallow looking from all of the mental illness that he had suffered and then all of the different LSD that they had done, that they have a whole bunch of songs off Wish You Were Here, and they sang about him, and Shine On You Crazy Diamond was a song that they wrote about him. And the Pink Floyd continued to cut him checks until he passed away, I think, in 2011, even though he had not been a member of the band for over 20 years. They continued to send him money and checks. And then AC/DC, this I did not know. This was interesting. Had a singer before Bon Scott called Dave Evans, and that was something I didn't know. And then, of course, Dave Navarro, who I used to think was just hot as hell, has been running through so many different bands, GNR, Butthole Surfers, Jane's Addiction. He was Perry Farrell's right-hand man in helping get Lollapalooza off the ground. And the last three I have are near and dear to my heart. Well, so Slayer, Dave Lombardo, was a drummer for Slayer for a number of years, and they ended up booting him from the band. And a lot of course, Slayer fans are upset about that because they liked the original cast. Speaking of the original cast, I cannot... Oh, I'm sorry. And Styx, Dennis DeYoung, who has the worst hair in the history of the world, and it's been gray since... he must have turned gray at 22, because ever since I've seen this man, he's had gray hair. And he was the reason why they had a whole bunch of, like, Domo Arigato Misto, where, like, this crazy theatrical shit. And he ended up leaving, and then what happened is that the rest of the band actually wanted to rock. They broke off and they formed the Damn Yankees with Ted Nugent as their guitar player, and they sang Higher, and they sang a couple other songs. I think they had one, maybe two CDs out. And then the last ones are super near and dear to my heart. So Fleetwood Mac, Lindsey Buckingham. So I posted on our social media feed the Seven Wonders video. Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks, for those of you who've been living under a rock, used to date, and they broke up during the Rumors album, as did the whole band. And what ended up happening...
I always thought that was just a rumor. Yeah, there we go.
There you go. Yeah. So if you watch the Seven Wonders video that came out in the 80s, she's singing the song about basically that if she lives to see the Seven Wonders, she's never going to match the intensity of being with this guy. And she's singing to Lindsey the whole time. There's a part in the video where he looks like he's crying. There's literally, like, he shakes his head and there's like a teardrop under his eye. And I just want to, like, hold them both and have them get back together. And so I've been completely on a Fleetwood Mac kick. And then my last two, Motley Crue. That's my band. They did Dr. Feelgood, which was their biggest hit that ever happened. They had the balls to put on the Same Old Situation video at the very last scene, see you next tour, and then they immediately broke up. Vince Neil says he was fired. The band says that Vince Neil left. Nobody really knows what happens. Then they brought on John Corabi, and they released the self-titled Motley Crue. They had Hooligan's Holiday, and it was a good CD. The problem was it wasn't Motley Crue. The bands completely rejected it. Nobody started going to their shows. Nikki Sixx's ego couldn't take it, nor could the rest of the band, so they went back and got Vince after Vince's daughter had died, et cetera, et cetera. I watched The Dirt. That's kind of into it. And then the very last one is somebody that I've always just thought was such a tragic figure, and I guess I relate to him on a number of things, is Dave Mustaine. So Dave Mustaine was the original. So Kirk Hammett has been part of Metallica since, I don't know if he was on Kill 'Em All, or I think Mustaine was still with them on Kill 'Em All. I can't remember. But Dave Mustaine was super into alcohol, and drugs, but mostly alcohol, and he ended up getting so aggressive when he drank that they ended up booting him from the band, where they literally dropped him off at a bus station and was like, here's your ticket to go back to LA. And they ended up picking up Kirk Hammett, and who's been with Metallica forever. And Dave Mustaine went on to create another band that's part of the Big Four. So there's Slayer, Metallica, Anthrax, and Megadeth. And so Dave Mustaine went out and he started Megadeth, which has had a big wide success, but has not had nearly the success that Metallica as a franchise and the amount of CDs that they've sold. And if you watch any interview, and there's tons of memes in the rock community where they talk shit about Dave, which is so sad, because he was really hurt by it. He made an appearance in Some Kind of Monster. But anyway, and I always feel so bad for Dave Mustaine because he's so successful, but he's looking at Metallica and he's like, man, but I'm not anywhere near, I've sold 25 million records. They've sold 100 million records, right? Just to give you guys a leverage scale. And I think that he feels like he's a failure. And the reason why I've always associated with Dave Mustaine is because I look at people who I think are very successful, and I look at myself and I feel like I fall short constantly. And so when I see Dave Mustaine, who's had all of this enormous success and he's an amazing guitar player, getting booted from Metallica and then just being forever feeling like he's second fiddle, like an imposter syndrome, I can completely relate to him because regardless of any of my successes, I feel like I'm always falling short. So that's all mine. How many do you have, Stormy?
Well, I don't have as many as you, but after suffering a little bit of depression listening to all these people get fired on yours, I'm going to take us back to a time that was much more enjoyable. I'm going to take us back to 1985.
Are you going to make the podcast great again?
I'm going to make it great again. I'm going to take us back to 1985 because one of the hottest groups around, if you remember, one of the hottest groups around singing at Live Aid.
Okay.
It was the Thompson Twins, and coming on stage to join them was none other than my favorite, Madonna.
Wait, Madonna went on stage
yes,
with the
she went on
Thompson
stage
Twins.
with the Thompson Twins during Live Aid in 1985. I thought you'd appreciate that.
Yeah, but Live Aid was open air, and she can't control the air conditioning.
That
does not sound
she
like
on
what
stage.
something
I just
Madonna
wanted to bring
would do.
back memories to the beginning of this podcast
Was she
because you were
late,
so
though?
passionate.
Was she 5 hours
Yeah,
late?
she may have been a little bit late. And she sung. So there you go, the Thompson Twins. But the thing, I saw the Thompson Twins, I don't know, a couple of years ago here in Las Vegas. And I don't think they're twins anymore.
Well, there were three people in the group, so they're never
Yeah,
twins.
so they should have been the Thompson triplets. But
They
now
should
it's
have-
like a Thompson, they lost a twin.
So is there only 2 people now?
Well, I don't know. They got some other dude, but I don't remember the name of the guy.
What did she
I
sing?
think
What
it
did
was,
Madonna sing with the Thompson Twins?
She backed them up.
She backed them up?
She backed up the
when
Thompson
was-
Twins.
What
Wait,
song
Live
did
Aid-
they do?
Live Aid was what, 80?
85. It was 85.
Oh, 85.
Okay,
was the best
so
time
she
of my
had,
life.
So if it's 85, which you noticed was two years before he met
She
his
doubled
wife.
up with them. Yeah, she doubled up with the Thompson Twins, and because they were a hot band back in '85. Remember?
Yeah, but I'm thinking for Madonna to sing backup because she had released
now
her
she-
self-titled.
I don't want to say back up. They sung together.
Oh, okay.
So whatever they sung, but
All right, and
they
then
did
and
things
Like a
together.
Virgin had already been out.
Yep, that was her big thing. Like a Virgin was out, and but I just wanted to bring up the Thompson Twins. I wanted to bring up Madonna because I know she's so
She's
dear
totally
and near
my-
to your heart.
She's totally my favorite person now for
Yeah.
ever and ever and
There
ever.
it is.
And if anybody on social media wants to give me feedback about why I suck talking crap about Madonna, bring it on. I'll fight you.
So I've got some more.
Okay,
I've got
I'm
some more.
loving it.
I'm not
Do
there.
it.
I remember. So here's another. I'm not going to give you a person that got fired because that's what you guys brought up because you did lack of research. Anybody can fire
okay.
one person, right? But what about when Boy George fired the Culture Club? Okay.
Did he fire all of them?
He became Boy George. Boy George.
He was always Boy George.
No,
Did
he was
fire-
Boy George and the Culture Club.
No,
Then he became Boy
He was
George.
just
He
the
was-
Culture
he
Club.
was
Don't
the
argue
Culture
with
Club.
me.
Okay, sorry, you're
Yeah,
right.
he was the
So,
Culture Club.
even
That's
the-
right. Then he became Boy George.
Even the drummer that
They
he
all
was
got
having
fired.
the affair with?
Whoever. Just people got fired. If you change your name, there's a reason. People got fired. And-
Okay, but Gloria Estefan used to be the Miami Sound Machine. Then she was Gloria Estefan in the Miami Sound Machine. Now
Yeah.
she's just Gloria Estefan.
well, didn't the Black Eyed Peas, didn't what's her name fire the Peas?
Now they're just black eyes.
Yeah, Fergie.
Fergie.
She
I was
fired
like-
the Peas. She fired the Peas. So she's just the black eye. But here's another one. This one's a big one. Okay.
Okay.
What about when the Jackson 4 got fired?
The Jackson 4?
The Jackson 4 got fired.
You mean the Jackson? Well, I don't understand. The Jackson 5?
No, they were the Jackson 5 until Michael Jackson went off on his own. So the Jackson 4 got fired
Oh,
when
you
he
mean
became Michael Jackson.
Around the Victory Tour?
I don't know when it
Oh,
happened.
no, you're talking about, like
I'm just saying,
back in the day.
Yeah, he fired his siblings. Can you believe that?
That's
Ooh,
cold.
that's rough. He fired all of them.
I,
Because people don't even know the name of their siblings anymore. Like, where's Jermaine?
Dude.
What are the other names?
Don't you do what you do and you did what you did to me.
Yeah.
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 No, okay, there was Jermaine.
So the Jackson 4 got fired. Give me the names of the 4. You got Jermaine, Tito.
Yeah, I would say there's one with the
Was
T.
there a Marlon?
Marlon?
That doesn't sound right.
No.
So the Jackson 4 got fired. See,
right.
I was looking for like people getting fired, not a person.
Yeah,
people.
no, I like it. It's
I'm
out of the
affected
box.
economy.
It's out of the box.
That's
I love
how I
it.
roll.
I know.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with the, since you guys took all of mine with the extensive research that I did, I'm going to go with the Culture Club getting fired. I'm going to get the P's getting fired and the Jackson 4s.
That's fantastic.
Jackson 4s.
Yeah.
I like it. That is a nice spin.
That's
Nice
how I roll.
way to end.
There it is.
Yep. Okay. Well, as always, follow us on social media on.
Hey, and both of my fans, please stick up for me.
Yes, they're going to blow up social media with
Yes.
how the travesty of how we treat you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome. So follow us on
The gram and the book and the twit.
at
Oh, no, I can't do that. You'll have to do that. I don't
finances, the other F word. I don't know. And okay, and then we will have a super cool episode coming up here where we'll be
know.
exactly. We'll be recording it off location, so that should be a nice toasty thing. And as always, please feel free to do it. Subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes, iHeartRadio, or do all of them.
Yeah.
Like find all the platforms we're on, do all of it, and subscribe. And we will talk at you guys later.
We'll see you
Cheerio.
soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. Please check back for upcoming episodes and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Finances, the Other F Word.